Hi again then guys, and welcome to another speed tune setup for Horizon 3, and this particular car is generally a pretty popular one. Those who like the car tend to really like it, but at the same time it has now been kind of surpassed in terms of popularity by newer equivalents to it, like the 488 GTB, the 458 Speciale, that kind of thing, and it is the 430 Scuderia, which is a hardcore version of course of the F430. Now, as far as performance, this car really does deliver. It's a fantastic track car anyway, a little bit more skittish than some, at least in stock form, but when tuned, it's a monster. Now, you do have the 1500 horsepower engine option, which is always a good start. When a car has that option, you pretty much know that 9 times out of 10 you're going to have amazing performance. Now, of course, I would recommend that engine conversion, the Aventador engine. As far as the drivetrain, I would always recommend all-wheel drive, unless you specifically want rear-wheel drive instead. As far as the aspiration, obviously you want the twin turbo, upgrade the tyres, basically fit everything with race in the title, except for potentially the roll cage. You don't necessarily need to fit that, but everything else I would basically recommend fitting. Visuals obviously are down to you. Do you want the wing? Do you want to change the rims? That kind of stuff is purely down to personal preference. Now, as far as the tuning, to unlock much more of that top-end potential in particular, as you can see, the numbers are very, very good, especially for what is no longer the latest and greatest. This is a decade old now, this car, but it's aged very well. It's still highly competitive. 1.8 to 60, 3.8 to 100, and it's one of the quickest street cars in the game. 274 miles per hour with this particular tune. As far as the gearbox, you want a final drive of 3.2, then individual gears of 2.9, 2, 1.5, 1.18, 0.95 and 0.75, so a pretty simple setup overall, nothing too radical. Neutral camber and tow, unless you specifically want them, and I've gone for 1 degree of caster for manoeuvrability, especially at high speed. Anti-roll we've got on 29 and 28, springs on 113 and 185 with the lowest ride height front and rear. As far as dampers, we've got those on 9, 13, 4 and 6. Aero doesn't apply, unless of course you fit the wings, and as always, I would not recommend fitting the wings because they just don't help your top-end performance. As far as the diff, as usual, 100% on acceleration, 0 on deceleration, but feel free to mess around with those, find what works best for you. There are certainly alternatives to those settings, and I've gone for an 80% split in favour of the rear. So it is a pretty tail-happy build. It allows you to drift, but at the same time, of course, gives you that extra all-wheel drive launch off the line. It makes a huge amount of difference off-road, especially when you're putting down 1500 horsepower. So that's it for the build. Now let's take it out on the road. Now, as I said, the performance on this car is extremely quick. You can very quickly get this car up around the 270, even up to 273, 274, as of course you saw from the benchmark. There are some vehicles which sometimes struggle to hit the benchmark numbers. Not that they can't hit it, but they may take a bit longer than others. With cars like the Scuderia, you just don't need to worry about that. The acceleration is insane. You need to be careful of the car at lower speeds, especially with an 80% bias to the back, because it can be very rabid. The power that it puts down is very rabid. It's a crazy car off the line. But overall, if you do decide to use this build or get it straight from my storefront using the keywords down below, either way, I hope you have a lot of fun with it. And it can definitely win races for you. But that's it for this tune overall. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.